Hello artist friend, welcome to Expressions. My name is Miss Nancy and today we're going to be painting 3 paintings for our very own refrigerator art gallery. So let's get started.
Okay, let's get started and go through our supply list. First of all, you should have 3 canvases in your pack. A paper plate for mixing, that will be your palette. Your paints, we have the primaries, yellow, red, blue, white, and black. And from these 5 colors, we will be mixing everything that we need for our 3 paintings. I'm going to set these off to the side. Also, you'll have a couple of water containers. 2 containers is nice, one for rinsing your brush and then the other one, so that would be for the dirty water, and then your second container can be for dipping your brush into for your color mixing if you need to thin your paint a little bit. You'll have 3 brushes, 2 flats, a large flat and a small flat, and then a small round. A pencil and a paint cloth. Okay, so let's get our supply set up so that it's easiest for us to mix our colors. Oh, and you'll also have in your kit samples of what our paintings will be like. And we're going to start with our rainbow landscape. But before we do that, let's get our supplies set up for mixing. So what you can do is take the covers off of your paint and set them up. If you are right-handed, put your paints on the right side, and if you're left-handed, you can put your paints on the left side. And I'm left-handed, so I'm going to put my paints on the left. And a handy trick is to put them in order from lightest to darkest. So white, yellow, red, blue, and then we'll put our black up here. You won't need much of the black. You'll mostly be using the primaries, but I'm going to show you some fun color mixes using all 5 of these colors. Not all at once, but in different combinations, okay? And then I'm going to set my palette just off to the side here, and my canvas will be right here. I like to keep my cloth on the right side. So if you're right-handed, that would be your left side. And then we have our brushes, and those can be on either side, probably your whatever side that you write with. Oh, and then also in your pack, you're going to have 3 magnets for the back of your paintings. And at the end of the last video, I'll show you how to attach the magnet to your canvas. Okay, and then you should also have a pencil as well, and we'll use that for drawing. All right, so I'll give you a couple minutes to get your supply set up, and we'll be ready to start our first painting. Okay, my artist friend, let's get ready to begin. So our first painting is going to be a landscape painting inspired by this piece right here. It's called Landscape with Rainbow by American artist Robert S. Duncanson. It was painted in 1859, and you can actually see this painting at the Smithsonian American Art Museum in the US. So the fun thing about this piece is that we can not only paint a landscape, but also do some color mixing during the process of painting our rainbow. So let's get started. Take your pencil, and we're going to start with the foreground and work our way back and around the painting. So the first thing we're going to do is paint the shape, kind of a soft, wiggly U shape. So start about 2 fingers up from the bottom and just come down, dip down a little bit in the middle, and you can make your pencil kind of wiggly too. That's okay. And then go back up on the left side. All right, so then the next thing is we have a tree right here. But let's make ours, for fun, let's make ours more like pine trees. We have a lot of pine trees in Wisconsin and the Midwest. And a pine tree is just going to be triangular shapes. Okay, and don't worry about the line right there. We'll be painting over that. And then let's put 2 side by side, but we're gonna make the one tucked behind the front pine tree. Put a little base right there. Okay, and then there's a little path right here in our painting. So let's start about not quite in the middle, a little bit over from the middle, about half an inch. So about half an inch, and we're just going to make another wiggly pencil line, starting from the background, coming forward, and then we'll start another wiggly pencil line, and this one's going to go a little bit more straight down, not straight down, wiggly straight down. Okay, and that's going to be our path to walk on. Now let's add this group of trees back here. So right where your path, if you walk into your painting, when your path hits that back horizon line, take your pencil and then let's make some little circle shapes. And they can go down. These are just going to be a group of trees. Okay. And then you can add, I think it'd be fun to add that pond. So right by your trees, we're just going to take a line and it's going to go for a walk. So from the right side of your painting to the left side, that's going to be our pond. Okay. Now, the next thing is we need to add our rainbow. So I think it would be fun if our rainbow went right through our painting. So let's start on the right side by our trees, our little woods in the background there. So we're going to start on the right side, just very slowly draw kind of an upside down smile or the top of the sun shape, semicircle, an arc, whatever you want to call that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, that looks pretty good. Then we have a mountain shape back here. So for my friends in the Wausau area, we can pretend that's Rib Mountain. Now I'm going to leave a little space right here for where the rest of the rainbow colors are going to go. And just like we did at the very beginning when we put our horizon line in, we're just going to make kind of a wavy little shape. It's going to come down close to our pond, and then it can work its way back up. Now because these trees are in front of the mountains, we know that they're behind the trees, so we can just bring our pencil shape there. All right, great job. We've got that part started. So let's get ready to paint. First thing you're going to do is take your smaller flat brush. Now the rainbow colors, can you tell me what the rainbow colors are? Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So let's start with our red. Your brush is probably dry, so we're going to dip our brush just a little bit into our water. And I'm going to pull that closer so you can see what I mean. There we go. Just going to dip my brush part way, and I'll dry it gently on my cloth. I just want to get the brush wet. Okay, so now I'm going to dip straight into the red paint. Don't even have to worry about any mixing. And I'm going to take my brush, and you see how, I'll just show you right here. The brush has a wide shape, wide end, or a skinny one. We're going to take the skinny side, okay? We're going to take that skinny side and almost use our brush like we would a pencil. Very gently, but firmly, lay down that color. And you can see I'm just doing short strokes, because then I can have a little bit better control. And if your paint strokes are a little bit wavy like mine, that's great. Rainbows aren't super perfect. It's more interesting when they're not actually. And besides, with the sky, it's hard to see precisely a rainbow. So now I had red paint on my brush, and I just dipped it in the yellow. So I didn't clean my brush after using that red. I just dipped it right into the yellow, and I'm mixing up a little puddle of orange paint here. All right, so what I'm going to do then, same thing on that skinny side of the brush. I'm just going to go right along, and you can see, just using short strokes, I'm going to just rolled my brush over. Pick up some more paint if you need to. And you can see my brush strokes are a little thin, a little thick. That's okay. That helps them blend together. All right, so now this time I'm just going to wipe my brush on my cloth. Don't even have to rinse. Now I'm just going to dip straight into that yellow. Get a pretty good amount. Sometimes if it seems like there's too much, you can just wipe it on your palette, your paper plate. And now I'm doing the same thing. Pick up some more paint. It's almost like petting the canvas with my brush stroke. So I have some yellow on there. Now I'm going to mix some green. So I'm going to take some of that yellow, just a tiny, I'm just dipping the corner of my brush. Can you see that? Just a little corner. Because the blue is pretty dark. See, that's a pretty dark green. So I'm going to add some more yellow to that. And we'll be using more green. So if you have a little puddle here of green, that's fine. Get that on my brush. I'm going to lay that right next to the yellow. If you overlap some of the yellow, that's okay. There we go. Hey, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to wipe my brush again. This time I'm going to dip into the blue, and I am going to get a puddle here. Now instead of straight blue, I do want to add just a smidge, a little bit of white to that. A little bit more. With that blue color, a little goes a long way. It doesn't take much. So you can see I'm rubbing my brush back and forth. I'm going to lay that right next to the green. This is our blue. So we've got, so far we have Roy, G, B for blue. Okay, I'm going to wipe that off. Now this time I'm going to go straight blue. That's kind of our indigo color. Once again, see, you can tell what a difference there is right there. Tuck that in there, and you can always go back in if you need to add more color. There we go. And there's that little piece right there, no big deal. All right, so I've got some blue. I'm going to dip a little more blue on my brush. Now we're going to make a purple. Do you know what color makes purple? Blue and red. That's right. Let's add a little of that. And here I'm going to show you an artist trick. It might take a little more red than blue. Here's an artist trick. You can just make a swatch on your paper. That's pretty dark. Let's add a smidge of white. Just a smidge. You can test it. I think I want more red. I'm gonna pull. So instead of mixing right on that pile, I'm gonna dip it in there. That's kind of a nice purple color. So sometimes with the violet, you need a little bit of white. Then I'm just gonna add a little more red. There we go, let's try that. There we go. There. And I can always go in and touch that up a little more later. All right, so this time I am going to rinse my brush. That's a beautiful rainbow already. Okay, now let's mix up some green. Let's take a big pile of the yellow, and I have a little surprise for you. We used yellow and blue before. Now I want you to just take a tiny bit of black. Let's start with, there we go, just a little. Scoop up a little more yellow. There we go. And maybe a smidge more black. What we're going to do is our first pine tree. And I'm also going to add just a little bit of blue to that. And I pulled it over so I have my yellow and black pile, and then I have a yellow and black pile with a little bit of blue. Okay, and let's paint our first pine tree. So what we're going to do is work from the front of our painting toward the back. There we go. Now, I'm not going to clean my brush. I am going to just dip right into this other green pile and paint my other pine tree. There we go. And I think I'm just going to add, I'm going to just dip right into the blue. I'm going to make this front one I'm going to add just a little bit more blue while that paint is wet. And the reason is, it's just going to help me identify that there are two trees there. See how this one is looks like it's more forward, and that one's set a little bit further back. Okay. Now let's take that same blue-green and let's put it on just on this part of our forest. We're going to layer some more colors on top of those, but to start with, we just want that first part of the color, that blue-green color. All right, and then let's take some of our extra paint. We're going to lay it down here right below our pine trees. That's the pine tree shadow color. Okay. And now let's take some of our yellow green that we used for that first pine tree. That was the green with the black and the yellow. Let's put that in cover our grass. Okay. Not quite all of it. Let's add some more to our other side. And if you need to mix some more, you certainly may. What you can do is start from the bottom and paint up toward the forest. And as you get closer to the forest, add some yellow because it's further back, so it's going to be in the distance. So you want that color a little lighter. Same thing on the other side then. Just going to add a little bit more yellow. And I just need to be careful not to paint into my pond. A little more yellow under our trees. We'll add a stem in a little while. And when that dries, I can go back in and hit that with a little bit more yellow. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to paint our path. So rinse your brush in your dirty water container, dry it, and now let's take, we made that orange before with yellow and red. Let's add that in our path, maybe a little bit more red. Okay, just part of the way up. Now as our path goes further back, I'm going to add some yellow. There we go. And let's take some of that same color and we're going to do the tops of our forest, because let's just say that those trees, take some of our lighter green too, those trees are starting to change color and we want them to look a little bit different from our pine trees. So, and I'm just adding, we can pretend that those trees are oak trees or maple trees starting to change color. And I just added some of the orange that we used in the path and some of the yellow and then some of that lighter green that we used right here. Okay, so those trees are looking pretty good. We'll leave those be. All right, next thing is let's paint our water. Remember when we made our light blue color? So we're just going to take some of that. You can mix some more if you need to. And all we're going to do is just draw, that's our lake. Just paint that right across. There you go. Now our next step is our mountains. Remember when we mixed up that purple? We're just going to take some of that again. And to make the mountains look far away, we're going to add some of white. Here we go. Put those back there. Just very slowly. And you can see sometimes I use the wide part of my brush and sometimes the skinnier part. Turn this that way so you can see it all. And remember we have some of the mountains continuing behind our pine tree right there. All right, looks pretty good. One thing I'm going to do, let's take our, let's put a little, we can use that purple even for our pine trees. And let's just, for the trunks, and I'm going to add just a smidge of black to that, just to give it some extra darkness. And then right here, let's take our green, a little bit of yellow to that black. I'm just going to stroke that along that edge. Maybe there's some trees back there too. There we go. See how that gives that a little more depth? Kind of like all the trees on Rib Mountain. All right. Looking good so far. Almost done. Let's mix up a batch of sky blue. So I'm going to take a chunk of the white. And I have some of my blue. Maybe just a smidge more blue. Okay, and I can always do a little test. Looks pretty good. So I have my brush quite a bit on there. And then I'm just going to start at the top. I'm starting at the top right. You could start at the top right or the left. We'll start at the top and work our way down. We're going to go a little bit slowly around there. So we're using the wide side of our brush. We're still using the smaller brush too. A little bit slow on the edges, and if it's easier for you, you can rotate your canvas. There we go. And if it goes over that color a little bit, that's okay. Okay, I'm going to load up my brush again. I'm going to start at the top right by that purple and go slowly to form an arc. I'm going to keep painting down. Now instead of going straight down, what I'm going to do is add more white. I'm going to take just a little bit of the blue, add a lot of white to that, because I want as the sky meets the horizon line, it's going to be a little bit lighter in color. There we go. Now I'm just going to because this paint's still wet. There we go. Gently, gently, gently wipe blend a little bit of that in. Nice. All right. Oh, and the last thing, we have to sign it. So take your skinny brush. I think I'm going to use red. Just put your initials in. There we go. And for Nancy. All right. Great job. I hope you enjoyed this. And I'll see you on the next painting. Thank you. Welcome back, artist friend. Now our next piece is inspired by the artist Henri Matisse. He's a French post-impressionist painter who painted a lot of still life paintings, portraits, that kind of thing. So since these paintings are going on our refrigerators, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to paint something that might be inside our refrigerator? So what we're going to do, this is called a still life because it's painted with objects that are not moving, as opposed to if it was a person or an animal or something like that. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have our canvas set up what's called portrait, so the tall way. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start with the bowl. So about not quite halfway up, a little below halfway, we're going to make a smile. That's going to be the shape of our bowl. And if your smile is a little bit crooked, that's okay. Now we're going to make another smile, but not super big. You can watch as I do this. So we've got our smile. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a backward C and a regular C, just a little one. That's going to be for the stem of our bowl. And then we're going to make another smile at the very bottom. And then wrap that around. You can make it big or small if you need to adjust. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, if it looks a little bit wonky, that's more like how Matisse drew his pieces. All right, so now you can think about, well, what are my favorite fruits? What do I want in my fruit bowl? Well, and what are colorful fruits too? I think it's nice to paint a variety of fruits. And I know in my family, we love apples. So I'm gonna put my apple here. Put a little stem on that. Love oranges. That'll give me an orange color. Pears are another favorite. And pears, to draw a pear, think of kind of a rounded triangular shape. So a circle, kind of a circle shape on the bottom, and then a triangle on the top. You want it to be, and pears are not perfectly shaped, so you can have it be a little bit wonky. We're going to add a stem. As a matter of fact, if it's curvy and sideways, that's interesting too. Okay, and then I don't know about you, but I love grapes. So, and we know grapes are circular. Let's put a bunch of grapes behind that apple, and that can fill in the shape there. Put a little stem on that. Okay. You could do all apples, all oranges, all pears. It's totally up to you. I think it's fun to have lots of colors. And then let's pretend our bowl is sitting on the table or the counter. So here's the halfway mark, so a little below halfway. Let's just add a line on either side. There we go. Okay, and let's dive into the fun part with painting. For this one, you can use, let's see, we can use our big brush this time. And let's start with our apple. So I'm just gonna dive right into my red paint, and you can see how much I have the brush loaded. I'm just gonna smear that right on there. Here we go. And actually, there's one thing I'm gonna do. First, let's do that. I'm gonna pick up just a smidge of that blue paint. Put that in my shadow area. Just a smidge. And since our paint is still wet, it dries, it blends real nicely. Then let's just pick up some yellow. Put a little in the upper left part of that apple. There we go. And then I'm just gonna stop there. One thing I want to do is let's take our skinny round brush and let's dip in our blue. And actually where we have our pencil lines, let's outline over the pencil lines with this blue paint. That's more in the style of Matisse. Okay. Just dip straight into that blue. And again, just light brush strokes. There we go. Get our C and our C. Let's get the bottom of our vase. I should say our fruit bowl. Get back there. I'm going to paint right around this apple. Get the stem on there. Here's our orange. So instead of using black, we're using blue. And I'm not using a lot of paint. It's almost as though I'm using the blue paint like I would a pencil. Now for those circles, again, C and a backward C. Super easy way to make circles. Get some grapes over there. There we go. All right. Rinse that brush out. And then next, let's take our big brush again and let's mix up an orange color, a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of red. There we go. Looks like I want that a little bit more red. And Matisse painted with big strokes of color. I'm going to add just a little bit of red since my paint's still wet. You can mix your color right on the canvas, which is fun too. And then without even cleaning my brush, I'm just going to dip the corner in the white. Add a little highlight. There we go. There, coming along. All right, next, I'm just going to wipe that brush. I don't even need to rinse it. I'm going to take my yellow. I'm going to mix my pear color. And this time, you know, in our first painting, we used the yellow and black, but let's use some of the yellow and blue. Let's put that color on there. There we go. And some of our paint is still wet from before, which is helping to blend our colors. It's looking nice. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit more blue for those shadow areas. Or you can keep the color flatter with just solid green. That's okay too. There we go. Okay. I'm going to wipe that, and I'm going to take some little bit of yellow, a little bit of white, more white. There we go. Get that on my pear. Maybe a little more, just straight white. There we go. All right, now let's paint our grapes. I can take that same mix from before, but I want it to be a little bit greener. Or, actually, what if we make some of these grapes purple? I'm going to clean the brush. That would be a fun color to mix. We don't have any purple here. So I'm going to take some red, a little bit of blue, just a little. These could be kind of purpley red grapes. Smidge of white, a little more blue. See what we get. Kind of dark. Let's add a little more white. And you can see how, here's my darker purple, so I'm adding, so I took some of that, pulled it over. There we go. Some purple grapes. And I'm still keeping some of the blue lines. I think I want some of those a little bit redder. So I can just take my red and put right on that color. There we go. And maybe we want to keep some of those grapes green. We can do that. Mix up our green again with our yellow and our blue. There we go. Kind of a combination. Red and green grapes. Sounds good to me. Okay, and let's take our blue, make our stems. Blue stems, you say? Yeah. We're going to add a little blue inside our bowl. There we go. And let's see, let's take a little bit of red, and we're going to put it right next to the blue on our stems. There we go. And you can always paint into that. Okay, rinse your brush. Let's take a bunch of white, make a light blue color. Lots of white. We're going to paint our fruit bowl. You can see there's just a little bit of white in there, or a little bit of blue, I mean. Lots of white. There we go. Now, we'll take our skinny brush. We're going to dip in our blue, so our white is still wet. Add that to our really light blue mix. So we added some blue, and now we're just going to make it look like fancy painted china. We're just going to paint some squiggles. You could make those C shapes again if you want. Run some along. Think of like a fancy teacup, but this is a fancy fruit bowl. There we go. Gonna fix that little area there. All right. Okay, next, so let's rinse both of those brushes. Matisse liked bright colors, and I don't know about you, but I like bright colors as well. So let's mix up an orange, just like we did at the beginning, with yellow and red. Now you certainly can mix, if you want your background, we're going to paint this background color, you could make it whatever color you want to. So if you want yellow or pink, any color. I think blue and orange, they're opposite colors. They look exciting together. So mix up a big batch of orange. There we go. And if it's easier for you, you can rotate your painting. If it's easier for you to work around the edges, scoop up some paint. You can use the edge of your brush. I'll let that dry. I can always fix that later. If you have a oops, don't worry about it. Just let the paint dry and you can go back in and fix that. I'm going to rotate this again. There we go. And if you have a little bit of white peeking through from your canvas, don't worry about that either. It kind of makes it interesting. Okay. There we go. Now I'll rinse that brush in my dirty water container. Okay, and I'm just going to take some of that blue. I'm going to keep it pretty bright. Ooh, yeah. Like I said before, Matisse liked bright color. That's exciting. There's just a little bit of white in with that blue. Background in, and sometimes if your paint seems like it's kind of thick, just dip it in your clean water. That'll thin it a little bit. There we go. And then if you just have a little oops, like I went a little too far right there, I can just dip in my white. There we go. And fix that. There. How's yours looking? Nice job. All right, and then the last thing we do is sign our initial. I think it'd be fun to do this in orange. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use green. I'll use green to tie in with those other colors to sign this. And it may be you have to wait a little bit if your painting is still really wet. You might have to wait a little bit. Make that a little bit lighter. Okay, nice job. And I'll see you in the next painting. Welcome back, artist friend, for our third and final painting. This one is going to be an abstract painting, and we're going to be working with shapes, triangles, circles, squares, rectangles, and we're going to do it in whatever colors. It's going to be your choice of colors. So I just wanted to show you one example. This example here is not so much shapes. Well, it is shapes, but also a lot with using lines to create my shape. So I have a lot of semicircles, some triangles, some dots. Just really fun pattern made with those lines and shapes. And then color-wise, I chose greens and yellows, kind of like vegetable colors. And then I contrasted that with some blue. So these colors are all right next to each other on the color wheel. Remember when we made our rainbow painting, we had yellow, then green, then blue. So it's kind of as though I took a part of the rainbow and then created shapes and a pattern with it. Okay, so that's just one example of how you can do this abstract painting project. Now I'm also going to let you choose if you want to have your canvas set up vertically or in a portrait style or horizontal, which is a landscape format. Your choice. I'm going to go with vertical to style. You can choose whichever one you want. Okay. Color wise, I'm going to suggest to you, think about some of your favorite colors. Think about the colors that we mixed with our rainbow landscape, and let's just start with that. So personally I really like pinks, but I think for today I'm going to go with some oranges and reds and yellows and then some pops of blue. So I'm going to dip my brush in my water, and I'm going to start with yellow. You can start with whatever color you want. I'm going to make some. Here's a rectangle. Maybe I'll make another rectangle going horizontally. So start with your whatever you want, your biggest color shape first. And I think I'll make another one. I'm using that big flat brush, and I can just make the shapes like that. One. I'm going to add some orange to this by mixing red and the yellow. So essentially, once you lay down your first couple colors and shapes, you can start to create a pattern. Maybe you want some of your colors to overlap. Make a square. So right now I'm using all what they call warm colors. Maybe I'm going to put a little red in with that orange. The fun thing about these is that they will always turn out different. And you can layer your colors, and by layering, once one color dries, you can add another color over it. Now I think I'm going to set this one off to the side, and you can switch back and forth with your brush too, depending on what kinds of lines and shapes you want to make. So I've got the smaller flat brush, and that's helping me make some smaller shapes and patterns. Okay, so that's triangles, rectangles. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I invite you to change your shape. I'm going to add some triangles. And some of these triangles I'm going to make so that they overlap. Maybe even some of the other color shapes are inside. That makes an interesting pattern. Switch my color, make a smaller triangle here. And I'm going to see what happens. There we go. So you can see some of the color overlapping. Now I think it would also be fun. Take your round brush if you want to. Add some dots. You can also, if you want to make some dots, see what happens if you dip your brush handle in the paint and add some dots. There we go. Those give you a different kind of dot than the ones that you make yourself. They can be big or small. There we go. Now, the next thing, I think it would be fun to add some blue to this. Simply because blue is a cool color. Add some circles and there we go. And by changing the way you put your pattern, you can make it look like some of these shapes are in front of. This one looks like it's behind the other shapes in here too. And then sometimes maybe you want it to look, put some circles inside there. It kind of looks like it has a hole in it. And since I did it in one spot, let's do it in another. Or how about right here? There we go. Maybe one more here. Okay, and now I'm going to use a light blue just to change up that blue color. I'm still using that smaller, the round brush, and I can still make square shapes with that. So that's kind of interesting, using a light blue. I'll add some lines to that just to vary my colors. And there we go. So again, I'm overlapping some of my colors just to see what happens. Add a little of white. So there my paint got a little bit runny, but that's okay. I'll let that dry. Let's see, I think I need some light blue dots. Well, that's interesting, that light blue on top of the orange. And then I have this blue here. I'm going to add some more. So as you start to finish this, you can kind of see where else you might need some more colors. Let's do that. And you can repeat some of the shapes. There we go. Add a couple dots there. Actually, I think I'll make those dark blue. So this one is totally different, very fun, very relaxing. This is something you can do anytime you want to, just play around. You can even make these with your crayons, markers, just make different patterns. I think we need a couple yellow dots right here, and then I would say this one's done. Here we go. Little line there. Okay. And this one, I think I'll just put my initial right here in the corner. So find a spot. You could even do it in a square or in one of your shapes. There we go. And one other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little heart right inside of this one. Some more paint. There we go. It's kind of hidden. It's a little bit different from the other ones. There. All right. And how's yours looking? Nice job. Okay, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll show you how to put the magnets on the back of your canvas. Now that we have our paintings finished and they are dry, let's attach the magnetic strips that are in your art kit. You should have 3 of these. There's a sticker on one side and then the magnetic portion on the other. So I'm going to show you how to, I'll show you the first one and then you can do the rest, okay? So super easy. Just flip over your painting, and again you want to make sure that it's dry, so let's just do a double check. It's dry. And then these are just, they're a sticker, so you can see where there's a little bit of space. You can just peel that off, set it to the side, and since this is a vertical, I'm going to have it fit just like the shape of the canvas. Okay, then you can just press down nice and hard, give it I guess a nice soft massage, a hug to get that on there nice and tight. Okay, and then continue to do that with your other 2 paintings, and then I'll meet you in front of the refrigerator and we'll install our art show. See you in a bit.
Welcome to the refrigerator. Now that we have all of our magnets on the back of our paintings, let's finish our show. Great job. Pat yourself on the back too. Thanks for being here, thanks for painting, and keep on making art.